Reload, The Art of Smart Recovery is a new and fresh title translated by Trey Publishing House. What its Swedish authors, Henrik Fexeus and Catharina Enblad, are proposing in that book is to change the way we look at stress and recovery. Henrik Fexeus, mentalist and public speaker on nonverbal communication, is already known to Romanian readers as the author of two other books we translated in Romanian, The Art of Reading Minds and Finesse Superior Social Skills. Hello, and thank you, Mr. Fexeus, for being with us.
Well, thank you for having me.
And Catharina Enblad is a health journalist, and she's very interested in the latest research findings on stress and recovery. Hello, and thank you for being here with us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Okay, so my first question would be on your unique approach in the Reload book. You know, when one feels overwhelmed by work, the most common advice is to do less or to let aside the tasks that could wait. But you do not agree with that kind of advice. And what would be your alternative for the stressed and overwhelmed people?
You don't have to do less, but you have to balance the stress with efficient recovery.
And the thing is, when we say that we are going to do less, often that is not actually what happens, because our concept sometimes of doing less is, I don't know, you throw yourself down on the couch and you scroll Facebook and you eat a lot of ice cream. Mm-hmm. What actually happens then is that you put a lot of things in your body, in your system, that is not really good for you. You binge on ice cream or alcohol or whatever, and you feed your mind with a lot of cognitive information, for instance, social media, which suddenly overwhelms it, which is not really what you want. So when you think that you are relaxing, most often you're not. And even if you do manage to just not do anything, here's the thing, the brain, it wants to have a problem to solve. It wants to be active. And we also have what is called a negative bias, which means that we have a tendency to see negative things because that's a survival instinct. And if you just don't do anything, the chances of all that negativity cropping up is much greater. And that is why if you come back from work and you throw yourself down on that couch, you suddenly start to think about, oh, did my boss just hate me today? Because that is what happens when you try to do nothing. So as Katarina says, it's better to do something that will actually recharge yourself mentally and physically. And you are built in a way that you are supposed to be active. That is not the issue here.
You do distinguish between a physical recovery and a mental reload. And, you know, one say that for the mental reload, one can enjoy our hobbies, for instance. Could it be sufficient for an effective mental reload?
Well, I'd say it depends on what the hobbies are. If your hobby is to lie on the sofa, lie on the couch and just watch TV or social media, then it's not good mental reload. It's quite the opposite. But if your hobbies are like singing in a choir or playing chess, it might be very good mental reload. So it depends on what you do. And as we write in the book, there are 4 kinds of recovery. Sleep is a very good kind of recovery, and that's quite working on its own when you're actually sleeping. But then there's passive recovery, and that's watching TV and just feeding your brain with lots of impressions. So that's quite bad for your brain. Then there's active recovery and breaks, and active recovery might be hobbies. So it depends on what kind of hobbies you have, if it's good for your brain or if it's not.
But the thing here is that, first of all, why a hobby is good for you is because you get to train your cognitive capacity. You learn new skills, which broadens your mindset. Also, you get, the feeling of yourself that, yes, I am a person who am developing and so on. The problem is that when people get a bit stressed out, the first thing everyone does is that they stop doing the things that they do just for themselves, just because they enjoy them. So people who are being stressed, most often they don't have any hobbies anymore because they quit them ages ago because they had so much stuff to do.
Your technique for the mental recovery are sometimes paradoxical, non-intuitive. For instance, you encourage in your book the stressed people to have a time to worry. Could you
Yeah.
elaborate this technique?
Well, I'm sure Catharina would love to go into that. But before that, I just want to point out that these techniques are not our techniques, because everything in the book is based on the latest research. We've talked with, we've read tons of books and research papers and interviewed tons of researchers and doctors and psychologists and psychiatrists to hear what they had to say. So this is actually their techniques. It's tested and proven techniques. And if they might feel non-intuitive, well, you know what? The thing that feels like common sense is not always right. Whether something feels intuitive or not doesn't really say anything whether it's actually good for you. It's just that we have this this concept of what it should be that probably isn't right. And having said that, of course, it might sound strange that you would put aside time to worry an extra bit, but I'll leave that one to Catharina.
Well, when you are stressed out, as Henrik mentioned before, you can start thinking maybe my boss hates me, or you worry a lot more when you're stressed out, and that eats your energy. And then if you instead just set an alarm and decide that sometime during the day will be your worry time, then during the day, the rest of the day, when the worrying thoughts appear in your mind, you just tell yourself, well, I'll think about that when I have my worry time, and put it aside so it can't eat your energy. And then when the alarm goes off, you just worry away. And then you can worry about everything and make it as big as you want, or even bigger. Maybe you will not just get fired. Maybe you'll have to live under a bridge. Use your imagination, just worry away. And then when the worry time is over, after 10 minutes or so, you most often feel relieved because you control the worry instead of the worry controlling you. So it's not about solving the problems, it's just about taking control and not letting the worry eat your energy.
So actually, just to be clear, there are two things going on here. First, as Catharina said, you save your energy and you worry about everything later, but also the feeling of being in control is one of the most important things that we have to feel relaxed and just get a grip of things. It's when we start to feel that we lose control that we get seriously stressed out or even burnt out. And this strange technique lets you regain some of that control. And you feel that, yes, I'm worried, but at least I'm actually in control of my worry, which is a great feeling.
Your approach for the mental reload includes not only standard ways like mindfulness or cognitive reframing, but also tiny periods of recovering from 1 to 5 minutes. How efficient are these mini reloads, as you call them? And could you give us some examples?
Sure. Well, as for how efficient they are, we haven't found a scientific measurement. I can't tell you it's 5 or 7 reloads. But just from personal experience, both Catharina and I, we find them very, very efficient, but you do have to refill them. It's like, drinking a vitamin shot. And if you only do these mini reloads, as we call them, the mini reloads, you will probably need to do them 2 or 3 times a day. But again, that is not a problem because they will take you just a minute or 2. One of the best things ever is to just appreciate positive feelings, because when you have a positive feeling, that will seriously recharge your hormone levels and your cortisol and also your cognitive system. The problem is that very often we go through the day and we don't think that we had any positive experiences. But we do. We have a lot more positive experiences every single day than we are aware of. And the reason we're not aware of them is because we're already on to the next thing. And if you don't realize that you have a positive experience, of course, you will not reap the benefit from it. So this is a technique we call micro happiness. And basically what it is I should say that a lot of these techniques, they sound so simple. So you feel that surely that can't be it. There must be some big secret behind this. But that's just the thing. Most of these things are dead simple and very easy to do. But that does not mean that they're not very effective. Again, all this comes from the latest research. This is what people tells us this actually works. So in micro happiness, as soon as you feel something good, you stop and you go, hang on, what just happened? Did I laugh at that joke? Did I hear a song that I enjoyed when I went into that store? Just identify what generated a positive feeling inside you and just be in that feeling for as long as you want. Stop thinking about whatever you were going to do next. Just be there and enjoy that moment. It could be just like 15 seconds. It doesn't matter, because that enjoyment of that small positive thing that happened will be great. And if you start doing this, it will be difficult to begin with, because the problem is not to enjoy the positive feelings. The problem is to realize that they're actually there. And this is hard even for us. Actually, when I wrote that part in the book, I felt like a bit of a cheat, because I felt like, oh, here I'm writing about micro happiness and positive feelings. What did I have to be positive about today? Nothing. Is this actually really true? This micro happiness bit, does this work? And as I was having these thoughts, I realized that I was stomping my foot along with a song that I had on Spotify. And I was like, hang on, I'm actually enjoying myself in this moment when I'm thinking about not enjoying myself. So it's always going to be there. You just have to be on the lookout for it. So micro happiness, great thing.
Okay, that's a nice and clear example. Catharina, do you like to add another example?
Yes, since I've been working at Health and Leadership magazine for several years, of course, I have to mention training, but very often when you talk about how good it is for your body and for mental recovery as well to train, to do some workout, people say, I know, but I don't have the time. But this is a 3-minute training that actually is very, very efficient, because research proves that just 3 minutes of high intensity training can have as good effect as 2 hours of just slow training or low intensity training. So you can be at work and you can just stand up beside your desk and do jump squats or just running on the spot for 3 minutes. And it's like super efficient reload. And if your colleagues think that, oh my God, she's crazy, then you just explain to them how good this is, and you can do it together. And then you will all learn how nice it is to be reloaded during the day. Because when you're stressed out, your cortisol levels rise. And when they're very high, it's not good for you. But training can help you lower your cortisol levels. Just at the same moment that you are actually working out, they are even higher than before. But after your training, they get lower than they were before you even started. And if you train regularly, your cortisol levels won't get up as high when you train as if you're not doing it regularly, and they will be even lower afterwards. So training is very good to lower your cortisol levels, and that's a stress hormone that's not quite good for you to have up all the time.
Mm-hmm. And again, that's an issue, of course, of control, because just these short bursts of physical training that Catharina is talking about will help you gain control over your stress hormone levels. And I want to point out another method, because at the start, we said that you should never really just not do anything. But there is an exception from that. Because as I'm sure you're aware, Victor, when you're asleep, you have this sleep cycle. You go from light sleep to deep sleep. Now that's called the ultradian cycle. And that biorhythm is actually with you even when you're awake. And that means that approximately once every hour, or could be once every 45 minutes, depending, it's a personal thing, but approximately once every hour, your brain will lose its ability to concentrate because it needs to recharge. And the worst thing you can do then is just to trudge along and keep on doing what you're doing and ignore your brain's crying out, saying that oh, please just let me shut down for a bit. And when you do that, when you just keep going, that's when you crash at 2 in the afternoon after your fifth cup of coffee, and you get that, after lunch coma. That is because you ignored your mind's ultradian rhythm. So what you actually should do is, there is a technique called you're working in Pomodors, and you don't have to do that. What you can do is once every hour, you set the alarm on your computer or your mobile phone or what have you, and you take 2 or 3 minutes and you just completely zone out. You just look out a window. You don't try to solve a problem. You don't write an email. You just think about nothing. Let your mind go. And if you feel, if you're in a work environment where you really can't do that, you could lie to your colleagues. You could say that, yeah, no, I'm solving a problem. Let me be. But don't just zone out for a bit. Because if you do that, if you give your mind those extra 2-3 minutes every hour to recharge, you will keep on going for the rest of the day and the evening, and will still be very creative and full of energy. But you need to respect the hormone levels and the biorhythms that's in your body in order to be as mentally great as you possibly can.
One of the cases you describe in your Reload book is one of a Moldavian medical doctor who emigrates to Sweden and feels isolated and non-adapted. What happened to him after his initial period of non-adaptation? And did one of you manage in some way to help him with the Reload program?
I actually talked to him just the other day, and he's doing much better. We've had some contact since the book was released here in Sweden, and he says that he started training after the interview, and that has helped him a lot. And also that he did this test that's in the book where you can see how you react to stress, and he realized that he's trying to make everyone happy around him, and he's just saying yes to everyone else and just not taking care of himself. So he's worked a lot with that and started to be better at taking care of himself as well, and not just everybody else. And he's also gotten friends and stuff. So he says that it's a great improvement, and that he's just doing fine today, and he's very happy.
Okay, I'm glad for this good news. Finally, I would like to thank you both for your kindness and for your inspiring book, and of course for your examples and clear explanations. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.